You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, OCTA Research Fellow Guido David. Dr. Guido, welcome back to The Source. Good to have you again, sir. Okay, he's trying to rejoin us on Zoom. We're going to talk about COVID cases and really find out. Apparently, what's coming out is the cases have been decreasing. Is this so, and why? And are we have we reached that high wave? Tapos na ba yung wave? Kumbaga, let's talk to Dr. Guido David. He's on Zoom right now. Dr. Guido, welcome back to The Source. As I said, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you for having me, Pinky. Good morning, and to the viewers of The Source.
Thank you, sir. So COVID cases yesterday was at 1,735. That's low, but as we have always said time and time again, Tuesdays actually reflect a lower cases because marami po doon sa mga labs are not working because it's the weekend. So generally on Tuesday, cases are lower. But this is still much lower than your projection of 2,100, if I'm not mistaken. So are the cases really going down now?
Yeah, Pinky, you're keeping me in line with my projections. Cases seem to be decreasing. In fact, yesterday we only had 528 in the NCR, and that's a very low number. When we look at Tuesday's numbers, we usually compare it with the previous Tuesday, and we check if it decreased from the previous Tuesday. And this week it actually decreased. So the growth rate in the NCR has actually decreased down. I think it's about negative 15% in the NCR. Negative 16%. And the reproduction number has decreased to less than 1. It's 0.98. So that's a strong indication that cases are actually on the downtrend. But we have to remind the public that cases are going down, but they're still significant at this time. So, we can't say that we're already, the wave is already over. We still have to wait maybe a month or so for it to subside to much lower levels.
Yeah, but that's good news when you talk about positivity rate of 0.98%, obviously low, a little lower than 1%, which is good. You were talking a while ago about you're comparing the numbers every Tuesday to get a more accurate comparison. So 1,735 cases last Tuesday. What was it the Tuesday before that? Would you have the number, sir?
Yes, Pinky, it was actually 2,633.
Okay.
So that's a significant decrease from Tuesday to Tuesday. Now there may have been other factors. Maybe it's the storm or something that may have caused lower numbers. But we're seeing lower numbers, and the growth rate for the Philippines is negative 17%. So that there's definitely a decrease in cases.
What is the positivity rate, though? Oh, you mentioned that 0.98%. Is that correct?
Sorry, yeah, that's the reproduction number.
Reproduction,
yes,
sorry.
That's the reproduction number. Right. The testing positivity rate for the NCR it's down to about 13%. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but but nationally, it's also down to about 13%, 13 to 14%, and those are good numbers because it went as high as about 17 to 18%. So there 13.8% national positivity rate. So it's not yet down to the 5%
threshold
acceptable level of the WHO. So it's still not yet gone to low levels, but it is decreasing, and that's the important part of it.
Again, of course, that's good news. You were talking about the cases at 1,735 yesterday. You said about 538 coming from NCR, which has been consistent, no, Dr. Guido, because 1/3 of the cases are normally coming from the NCR. Let's show your tweet yesterday on here, the number of COVID-19 cases. Ito po yung lumalabas. And I have another one though, but let's look at this. This is as of August 14. I was hoping we could show the other one. Anyway, it said that NCR was still number one. Let's take that graph out. The next one is Cavite, and then Bulacan, Rizal, Cebu, and then Davao del Sur. Did you see any changes in terms of the areas that have been ranking in most number of infections?
Well, actually, let me comment first about what you showed, Pinky, and
Okay.
that's actually as of August 23. The label might have been erroneous. It wasn't August 14, but it was actually as of August 23, and those were the list of LGUs with the
Okay,
most
let's show
cases
that
that you
again.
showed. Right. Yeah, Quezon City with 124, much lower than the average. It's been averaging more than 200 over the past 7 days. But for the provinces, it's NCR, Cavite, Laguna. And I should note that the decrease is happening not just in the NCR, but also in Calabarzon, in Cavite,
Good.
Rizal,
Yeah.
Laguna. It's been decreasing already, yes, and Batangas and Pampanga. But there are still a few provinces where the increase is happening.
Such
I think
as?
Bulacan, it hasn't. Yeah, and then in the northern provinces like Cagayan, it's still increasing. In the southern provinces, I think it's Zamboanga del Sur and Davao del Sur, it's still increasing because the wave started later in these areas. So it may still take a while, maybe a week or so
Yeah.
before cases start to peak in these
But
provinces.
I do remember you saying in previous interviews, possibly not with me, that parang nagtatagal po itong wave na ito, because in the past you're looking at what, is it a month, sir? I'm sorry, it escapes me, or 6 weeks, and then it begins to drop. But
Right.
this one is taking longer than usual.
That's correct, Pinky. We were expecting the wave to last about 2 months. So it started June, and then we were expecting June and then July. By end of July, it will be over. And we based it in South Africa, where we saw that the surge or the wave lasted only 2 months. So we were expecting it to peak around, early July, but it did not. And we
Yeah.
saw the peak in August. So now it looks like the wave is going to be it's going to last until the Burr months, maybe until the end of September. And what factors contribute to that? It could be waning immunity. It could be low levels of booster coverage, or it could be other factors like the subvariants that are coming in the country.
Is the group considering a possible increase in cases because of face-to-face classes? Is this something that you're already probably concerned about or worried about?
Well, let's be realistic, Pinky, that the possibility is there that an increase, a spike in cases could happen with face-to-face classes. And that possibility should not, of course, deter us from reopening classes because children are missing out on quality education, and face-to-face is important for them. But that being said, I mean, we have to be realistic that this is something that could happen. In the UK, when they first reopened classes, I think back in 2021, there was a noticeable spike in cases. So this is something that could happen. We'll just have to, manage this. If it happens, hopefully most of the cases will be mild and asymptomatic if these are pediatric cases. And the others who may have comorbidities, I mean, children with comorbidities, we have to make sure that they get, I don't know, maybe, we could give exemptions to them or something if they have comorbidities like asthma.
But, there's been an increase in severe and critical cases. That's up according to the DOH. Are you seeing the same numbers?
Well, I haven't checked, Pinky, the historical data. Sometimes there's an increase in severe cases because there's actually more old cases that have not been removed from the database. And usually the older cases are severe and critical, meaning that they have not been resolved in the data. but they might be as old as a few months back. So I will have to check on that.
Okay.
Generally, the numbers of severe and critical is fairly constant, but of course there may be something to this. So we'll have to look into that when the data comes out this Saturday.
What about deaths? Did you look into the number of deaths? Because it's also being reported that there's been an increase as lately.
Well, Pinky, unfortunately, when cases increase, the deaths usually increase with cases, and we were hoping for deaths to drop even while cases increase, and this actually happened in some other countries which are heavily vaccinated or boosted, but we have seen an uptick in deaths, and this is noticeable, in the daily numbers. We're averaging now about 43 deaths nationwide, and this is actually, about 10% or so higher than the previous week, 38 deaths, and the week before that we were just averaging 16 deaths. Yeah. So the number of deaths has almost tripled in about 2 weeks, and this may be. It's also not clear to us if these are late deaths being reported just now, or it was, with the rise in infections that we saw an increase in the deaths as well.
And to end this, Dr. Guido, please clarify, is the peak over? Have we reached the peak? Is the wave over? Or if not, kailan ho kaya?
I would like to clarify, Pinky, that based on the numbers that we're seeing, the peak is over in the NCR. It occurred first week of August. So now we have seen a 2-week decline from the first week until now. But the peak is not yet over, or it hasn't peaked yet in some provinces that I mentioned.
Right,
in some of the northern provinces,
Zamboanga
like
del Sur.
Cagayan, yes. And some of the most southern. These are far from the center of the epidemic, that usually the wave starts later in those areas. But at least in the NCR, Calabarzon, in Western Visayas, in Central Visayas, cases are already trending down, so the peak is over.
Thank you, OCTA Research Fellow Dr. Guido David.
Thank you, Pinky. Have a great day.
You too. We'll be taking a short break, and the RRMC spokesperson Mark Timbao will join us next. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned.